Revealed, Billionaire's touching act changes wheelchair girl's life after he heard her cry. In a quiet suburban town where life drifted like the gentle breeze, Mia sat in her wheelchair at the edge of the local park, feeling the weight of the world press down on her fragile shoulders. At 12, she was spirited and wise beyond her years, but the joy in her heart often clashed with the sting of being overlooked. Today, laughter and chatter surrounded her as families gathered for the park fundraiser aimed at uplifting people with disabilities. But for Mia, it only heightened her feelings of invisibility. As the sun dipped low, casting golden rays, her emotions bubbled to the surface. With a scream that ripped through the air, Mia cried for the acceptance she desperately needed. Unbeknownst to her, Jack, a billionaire with his own haunted past, was strolling by, his mind filled with thoughts of his own struggles. He halted, struck by the rawness of her heartache. He approached her, gently asking, "What's wrong, little warrior?" "I just want to be seen." She sobbed, tears shimmering like dew in the twilight. "We can make that happen," Jack replied, his voice steady, offering to support an adaptive sports program for her community. Suddenly, there was a flicker of hope in Mia's eyes, a delicate yet powerful spark, but not everyone felt the same way. As Jack began to weave himself into the community fabric, murmurs of discontent grew louder. Residents questioned how an affluent outsider could understand their struggles. At the town hall meeting, tension simmered, confrontations turned into accusations. Mia's heart raced as she felt the resolution slipping away. She knew she had to speak up. Taking a deep breath, she wheeled her way to the front, a small young girl in a big room filled with doubt. "If we push him away," she began, her voice trembling, "we're losing not just a chance for support, but a chance for understanding." Whispers filled the space, eyes flicked toward her, some faces turning ever so slightly. In that moment of honesty, she challenged her neighbors to see the bigger picture. "We're not different, we all want to be part of something bigger. Let's unite." The crowd shifted, some nodding, others unsure but listening, captivated. Just as Mia's words settled, Jack stood up, vulnerability in his eyes. "I know loneliness," he confessed. "My wealth doesn't erase the pain of neglect. I want to help, but I know this is about more than funding." His voice resonated, sending ripples of realization across the room, cracking the ice of indifference. As hope began to fill the hall, an unexpected voice shot out from the back, challenging their newfound camaraderie. "But can we trust him?" The seeds of doubt were planted, creating tension that began to loom over Mia and Jack. Would they really break through the barriers dividing them, or would the weight of the past pull them apart once again? The community swayed like the branches of the trees around them, fragile yet strong, unsure yet yearning to embrace change. And Mia, now a burgeoning beacon of courage, held on to hope, ready to fight for her friends, her family, her future. What would come next as they faced their deepest fears? Mia's heart raced as she processed the challenge thrown at Jack. The tension hung heavy in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Questions swirled in her mind, and she could feel the weight of her neighbors' gazes pressing upon her shoulders. Jack turned, looking out at the crowd filled with doubt. His hands were clasped together, a subtle tremor betraying his confidence. "I understand your concerns. You have every right to question me." His voice was hushed, but firmness burned behind it. "Trust isn't given, it's earned. I'm not here to dictate how things should be. I want to listen, to learn, and work together." The room remained silent, the unease palpable. Mia felt like a small candle flickering in an overwhelming storm. She wanted to shout, to cheer, to ignite the hope growing within her, but doubt gnawed at her. Could they really trust Jack? The murmur of dissent lingered like an unwelcome gust of wind. Then Mia took another breath, feeling emboldened. "None of us walk this path alone," she interjected, the quaver in her voice punctuated by a growing determination. "Jack is right. If we shut him out, we miss our chance to show him who we really are and what we need. We can change the narrative." Several heads began to nod slowly, the seeds of unity starting to sprout. But one older woman, Mrs. Thompson, shot back, her arms folded tightly like a shield. "You don't know our struggle, child. You're lucky. Not everyone gets a helping hand. Mia felt a pang in her chest. She was lucky, yes, but she was also fighting to rise above trepidation, just like everyone else in that room. I don't have all the answers, Mrs. Thompson, but I know how it feels to be alone. This program Jack is offering isn't just about athletics. It's about community. It's about making sure none of us are left out in the dark. Jack stepped closer to Mia, his gaze fixed on her with fierce admiration. He could see the glimmer of her fight, the way her spirit refused to dim even in the shadow of resistance. I want to be part of this community, and you all have the power to shape it, he declared again, searching faces for connection. Let us build something together and share our stories. I'm here to listen. Gradually, the urgency in the room began to shift. The shadows that had loomed over Mia and Jack started to dissipate, revealing fragments of hope. Some faces softened, reflecting curiosity rather than skepticism. As the whispers subsided, teacher and mentor alike began to converse quietly, seeking resolution, but before they could reach a consensus, a loud crash echoed from the far corner of the room, interrupting the discussions. Startled, everyone turned to see Sam, a young teen who had been quietly sitting at the back, his chair toppled and now lying sideways on the floor. What are we waiting for? He shouted, a fire in his eyes. You're talking about change. But if we don't act now, if we don't take the first step, this could vanish. Mia's heart surged. She realized Sam was right. They had the chance now, fluttering like the last rays of sunlight before dusk. Let us vote, Mia suggested, her voice breaking through the frantic energy. We need to choose if we want to let Jack help us. Together. The crowd shifted again, now filled with a mix of urgency, determination, and increasing hope. As eyes began to lock together, Mia felt the thrill of possibility slip through her fingers. Would they all find common ground here, or would the weight of their histories drag them back into silence? As hands began to raise tentatively to vote, Mia's pulse quickened. What if this was the moment they had all been waiting for? But in the back of her mind lurked a question, would the decision they made today truly protect their dreams for tomorrow? As hands rose cautiously, Mia held her breath. Each uplifted hand felt like a whisper of hope, a promise that maybe, just maybe, they could take a leap together. Yet a voice pierced through her excitement, slicing the atmosphere like a cold wind. Just because we're raising our hands doesn't mean we trust him. Mrs. Thompson's challenging tone echoed in the crowded room, dampening the energy that had just begun to thrive. The air felt heavy again, and Mia's heart sank. Around her, she watched the face of the crowd shift from hopeful to uncertain. Whispers erupted like sparks, igniting questions and doubts. It was clear that even in this moment of potential unity, the old scars of mistrust lingered for many, especially for someone like Mrs. Thompson, who had seen more than her fair share of broken promises. Maybe we should hear more about what he really wants, another voice chimed in, sharper than Mia expected. We can't just blindly accept help from a stranger. Jack stepped back into the spotlight, hands raised as if to calm the waves of dissent. I'm here to share what my program can offer, and I promise you it's nothing like what you've experienced before. I want to hear your stories, your struggles. Together, we can build something real here. Some still seemed unmoved. The older generation, their hopes dulled by years of disappointment, clung tightly to their skepticism. Mia felt frustration boiling inside her, even Jack's sincerity was being overshadowed by their fears. But then she noticed Sam again, his youthful defiance undeterred by the flickering doubts around him. He had pushed up off the floor, standing tall, ignited with passion. This is our chance. He shouted, his voice unwavering. What are we really afraid of? This is about us. If we don't try, what's the point? Mia could see Sam's sincerity in his vibrant expressions, and it pulled at her heartstrings. Maybe he was right. The fear of failure hung over them like a dark cloud, but who knew what could blossom if they took the risk? Sam has a point, Mia said, her voice rising above the din. What we've always done hasn't worked. We need to be brave. To trust. How can we expect change if we don't take that first step? A ripple of agreement passed through the crowd, but still, it was hesitant. The atmosphere was thick with uncertainty. Mia's pulse raced. She had thrown herself into the mix, and now she felt the weight of their decision pressing down on her. Would they really give in to doubt? As tension stirred, Jack stepped closer again. Trust is a two-way street. I offer you my commitment to this community. I ask for your commitment in return. Let us take this chance, forge a new path together. If we fail, I will accept full responsibility. His eyes glistened with sincerity, a light amidst the somber room. Silence enveloped the space, pregnant with possibilities. Mia could see their resolve beginning to shift yet again. Hope's tendrils reached out once more, wrapping around dissenting voices, but before any more words could be spoken, a subtle commotion caught her attention. Just outside the gathering, a figure loomed, cloaked in the shadows of uncertainty. Mia's breath hitched as she recognized a familiar face. Gabriel, her older brother, his expression torn between the warmth of familiarity and the strange weight of potential betrayal. Mia! He shouted, stepping forward into the light. You need to see this. The crowd turned, energy shifting once more. Mia's heart raced again, but this time not just from the decisions at hand. What could Gabriel possibly want to share? Would this throw everything into chaos, or could it hold the key to what they all longed for? The room buzzed with tension, poised for the unexpected revelation that would shape their path forward. Mia's heart skipped a beat as she took in Gabriel's urgent expression. It was a mixture of excitement and fear, the kind that sent prickles down her spine. What could he possibly know that was so important? She stepped forward, feeling the eyes of the crowd shift from their earlier argument to this new unfolding drama. What is it, Gabriel? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever he had to say could either lend weight to their discussion or shatter it completely. It's about that program you're talking about, Gabriel replied breathlessly, glancing around at the gathering shadows of doubt still lingering in the room. I just ran into a contact of mine who's involved in it, and you won't believe what I heard. The crowd buzzed with whispers again, a low hum of curiosity and caution. Eyes darted back and forth between Mia and her brother, the energy shifting from anxious to intrigued. Tell us. Someone called, their voice trembling with the tension of anticipation. Gabriel took a step closer to Mia before speaking. They're not just offering support. There are foundations ready to invest in real projects here, but they need the community's trust to make it happen. They want to rebuild and uplift, focusing on what you all need. Mia's pulse quickened. Invest? Like, actual money? Yes, but it's not just about money. It's about rebuilding the community. Gabriel's voice was passionate now, filling the room with a sense of urgency. Your voice matters, Mia. All of your voices. This could really change everything. Eager nods and hopeful glances spread through the crowd. There was something tangible in Gabriel's words, a flicker of light in the darkness. Sam stepped forward again, his face glowing with newfound determination. Do we have to trust them to trust us back? Wouldn't this be the first step? Mia thought about the years of waiting, the long stretches of time where every promise had turned to dust. Could this really be any different? Listen, Gabriel said, addressing the group now, I know trust doesn't come easy. But we're at a crossroads. Either we take this leap together or we stay stagnant, clinging to fear and hesitation. The room fell silent as eyes focused on Mia, their unspoken question reverberating through the atmosphere. Would she take the first step? Did she dare to trust again? Taking a deep breath, Mia recalled the years of struggling alongside her neighbors and friends. It hadn't always been easy, but they had made it through together. What if we pooled our voices? She started, her words gaining momentum as she spoke. What if we demanded a real plan to back their promises? This community deserves to be seen, to be heard. As the room buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose, Gabriel nodded in agreement. That's it, Mia. Let us bring your ideas to the forefront. Challenge whatever comes next. We need to hold them accountable. People started to stand, drawn by an energy that once felt lost. The hands that had hesitated earlier now clenched into fists of solidarity. Hope sparked like fire in the darkness, but as the discussions began to swirl around particular plans, Mia caught sight of a familiar face lingering at the back. It was Mrs. Thompson, her arms crossed, a skeptical frown etched on her face. Could they really change her mind? Mia, Gabriel said, pulling her focus back to him. If this is going to work, we need to keep the communication open. We can't let fear dictate our answers. Mia nodded, glancing over at Mrs. Thompson again. She realized it would take more than just ambition to convince the crowd, it would take understanding and empathy. Mia. Jack said, stepping closer, concerned yet hopeful. What do you want to do next? With determination, she replied, I want to talk, face to face. We need to create a dialogue not just among ourselves, but with those who have power. It starts now. As voices lifted and ideas flowed, a gentle excitement echoed in the room. They were on the edge, ready to cross into the unknown. But at that moment, as Mia turned back to Gabriel, he looked pale, eyes wide with something unsaid. Gabriel, what else did you hear? Suddenly, the air shifted, and the crowd went silent, preparing for whatever twist awaited them. What could change the course of this moment? Gabriel hesitated for a moment, wrestling with the weight of his words. The vibrant buzz of the crowd faded into an anxious hush. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I heard they're looking to fund projects that align with community values. But, they're only willing to meet with chosen representatives. Mia's heart sank. Chosen representatives? What does that mean for us? She didn't want to feel this familiar surge of disappointment, but it was creeping in like a thick fog. It means we have to present ourselves as a united front, Gabriel replied, urgency creeping back into his tone. We need to show them we're serious, but it will take more than just voices, it will take leadership. The room shifted again, like the tide turning, as thoughts raced through the crowd. Mia could see it in their faces, some were hopeful, others conflicted. Jack looked particularly troubled, his brow furrowed with concern. But who gets to decide that? He asked. How do we know it won't just be the same people making all the decisions for us? A murmur of agreement echoed through the group. Mia felt a mix of anger and frustration welled up inside her. They'd been subjected to a system that often overlooked their needs. They had stumbled through bureaucracy too many times before, and the idea of having to conform again felt stifling. We can't let that happen, Mia declared, her voice rising above the whispers. We bring everyone to the table. I know it sounds ambitious, but if we gather all our perspectives and form a coalition, we can push for inclusion. Encouraged by her own words, she swept her gaze across the room, locking eyes with each face. Who here wants to come together for change? Slowly, hands began to rise. The atmosphere shifted as hope flickered like a candle amidst shadows. Even Mrs. Thompson's frown softened slightly, an acknowledgement of the moment's gravity. Mia's heart raced. We can create a committee. Everyone who wants a voice can be on it. Let us craft a proposal outlining our vision, what we need, and how they can help. Sam pumped his fist in the air, enthusiasm electrifying his presence. Yes. Let us show them what we're made of. The forgotten tension in the room transformed into excitement, people started to talk above one another, exchanging ideas, realizing this could be their moment, but as the raucous energy surged, Mia caught sight of Gabriel's pale complexion again. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. What is it, Gabriel? She urged, feeling unease wash over her. You're holding something back. The room grew sober, anticipation thick as they waited for him to unveil whatever lurked behind his troubled expression. That he finally took a deep breath, glancing at the crowd. I overheard something else. He hesitated, and Mia felt a dread settle in her stomach. Some of these foundations are connected to influential businessmen who may not have our best interests in mind. There's a chance. Mia stepped closer, eyes narrowing. A chance for what? For them to pull funding if they don't like what we stand for, Gabriel revealed, tension tightening his voice. They could just walk away at any moment. An icy wave swept through the room, dimming their earlier excitement. The weight of his revelation settled like a stone in Mia's heart. What would they do if that happened? But just as quickly, resolve ignited anew. Then we'll show them we're not backing down. We have to prepare. We'll gather our ideas and present a united front, but she paused, scanning the gathered faces with newfound determination. We need a plan B. We can't put all our eggs in one basket. Yes. Someone shouted from the back of the room. We'll be ready for anything. As discussions flared back up, Mia felt adrenaline surge. They were ready to fight for their voices, but in the depths of her mind, a nagging fear gnawed at the edges of her optimism. What if their best wasn't enough this time, and what if the push for change led them somewhere they never expected? That uncertainty loomed as Mia felt Gabriel's hand on her shoulder, steadying her. We'll get through this, together, he assured softly, but she couldn't shake the feeling that unseen forces were gathering just outside their grasp. In that tense moment, the crowd rallied, but deep down, Mia understood a storm was brewing, and it would take everything they had to weather it. What if the very people they hoped to trust turned against them? She looked over the crowd, then to Gabriel, a question lingering in her heart. What would they discover about themselves along the way? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the hastily scrawled notes that covered Mia's kitchen table. Ideas, plans, and dreams spilled forth like vibrant paint on a canvas. She sat there, staring at the pages, heart racing with the weight of responsibility. They had a glimmer in what felt like an endless tunnel. Gabriel walked in, coffee in hand, his tired eyes searching hers. You didn't sleep, did you? Not much. She chuckled lightly, but the smile didn't fully reach her eyes. Just trying to sort everything out. We have to be ready. He nodded but didn't respond. Instead, he took a seat across from her and placed the coffee cup between them, a silent offering. Thank you, she said, the warmth of the gesture making her heart swell a little. But we really need to talk about who will want to represent us, and how we can ensure everyone gets a voice. It's the key to everything. I know, he replied, his voice low, contemplative. But the pressure his words trailed off, and Mia could feel the weight of their shared anxiety. She knew they weren't just fighting for funds, they were battling perceptions and ingrained beliefs. Securing a place at the table would mean convincing others that their voices were worth listening to. She bit her lip, suppressing the fear that gnawed at her. We'll figure it out. Together. As the day progressed, the tide of energy shifted once more. They convened in the community center, where tables were crowded, and voices buzzed with purpose. Mia stood in front of her neighbors, her heart pounding as she prepared to speak again. Listen, I know we're facing some uncertainty, she began, scanning the faces before her, a tapestry of hope and worry. But we also have a chance to bring change. It's not just about funding, it's about making our community heard. As she spoke, heads began to nod in agreement. Momentum surged, ignition lighting on the faces around her. Sam raised his hands, rallying the crowd. Let's start taking real steps. We need to gather more ideas, form committees. We can't just sit back. Jack piped up from the back, his voice carrying pulsing energy. What if we invite people from those influential circles? Let's turn the table. We need to show them we're more than a project. They need to see our faces, our stories. Mia's heart raced. That's brilliant. She felt the elation, the push of unity wrapping around them. But still, doubt lingered. But what about those who don't want to listen? We can't control their responses. We're not here to control, Gabriel interjected, his usually soft voice sharpened by urgency. We're here to connect. We share who we are, what we need, and they won't be able to ignore us if we present it right. A powerful cheer erupted, filling the room, and Mia felt warmth spread through her. This wasn't just a committee, it was a coalition, a community. But even as voices rose and ideas flew through the air, a shadow settled behind Mia's thoughts. What action should they take when the faces they approached were clad in greed? What would happen if their voices were drowned out by those who only saw them as a means to an end? As the meeting drew to a close, they agreed to hold an open forum, a chance to gather wisdom and priorities from everyone. Mia felt the glow of possibility, but that glimmer still felt fragile. As she stepped outside with Gabriel, the afternoon sun nearly blinding her, he spoke before she could voice her concerns. Mia, no matter what happens, we keep pushing forward, right? Right, she said, forcing her voice to carry conviction, though doubts lingered at the edge. But deep down, she wanted to believe, she craved that clarity. Just then, Mia's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to see a message from an unknown number. The words flashed before her eyes, sending a chill down her spine. I know you're planning something big. Don't get caught in a trap. What is it? Gabriel leaned over her shoulder, concern etched on his face. What if she whispered back, heart pounding in her chest, there's someone watching us? Would they be able to awaken the community's power, or would their efforts fall prey to forces they didn't understand? As she stared at the message, an unsettling fear settled over her once again, tethering her to the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Mia's hands trembled as she read the message again. The sunlight dimmed for her, muted by a haze of worry. What does this mean? She murmured, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Gabriel took her arm gently, urging her to step away from the crowd. Let us find somewhere private, he said, leading her to the side of the building where the noise faded to a dull murmur. Mia glanced around, her unease growing. We haven't done anything illegal. Why would someone feel threatened enough to send a warning like this? Maybe it's not about us, he replied, his brow furrowed. Maybe they just want to silence anyone who dares to challenge them. He glanced at her, a mix of concern and determination in his eyes. We can't let fear hold us back. We need to turn this energy into something useful. Mia wanted to believe him. She wanted to harness that energy, to push forward and not look back. You're right, she said, taking a deep breath. We can't let them intimidate us. The rest of the community center was alive with chatter, people brainstorming ideas, dreaming of new beginnings. But Mia couldn't shake the feeling of millions of eyes watching her every move. With each passing minute, the urgency of their mission felt burdensome. Let us talk to the others, she suggested, her heart still racing but a flicker of hope igniting within her. We need to be transparent about this. Gabriel nodded. Absolutely. Everyone deserves to know what we're facing. They made their way back inside, where the energy buzzed like a live wire. As Mia looked at the crowd gathered, a sense of hope washed over her. Each person was a part of this fight, each voice mattered. She stepped onto the makeshift stage, her resolve hardening. I have something to share, she began, raising a hand for attention. The chatter died down, a sea of faces turned toward her. We received a strange message today. It feels like someone is watching us, trying to intimidate us into silence. The room remained silent, tension rippling through the air. But this is our moment. She continued, her voice gaining strength. We've come too far to back down now. Together, we can make our voices heard no matter the obstacles. A mumble of support rippled through the crowd, and one by one, heads began to nod. Yes. Someone called out. We won't be silenced. Fueled by their collective determination, Mia could feel the energy surge within her. Each cheer, each clap sent waves of courage through the room. They were more than just a group, they were a force. As the day progressed, people began sharing their stories, their hopes for what this community could become. Mia felt renewed, inspired not just by the dream of change, but by the incredible people she stood with. They were fighters, survivors, and now, each of them was carrying a piece of their shared vision forward. Then, just as optimism swelled in the room, Mia's phone buzzed again, a new message lighting up her screen. The room quieted as she read the words, "You've made a mistake. You should be thought twice before stirring up trouble." Her stomach dropped. Confidence cracked under the weight of that threatening tone. Questions flooded her mind. What did this mean for their united front? Suddenly, the cause they fought for became more than just funding or representation. It felt perilous, with danger looming in the shadows, and Mia realized that they had awakened something much larger than themselves. How far were they willing to go to protect their dreams? What would they face next? A cold sweat ran down her back as she glanced back at Gabriel. His eyes mirrored her fears, but together, they held an unyielding strength. What would happen if the shadows closed in on them? The journey had just started, and the stakes were higher than ever. Mia's heart raced as she processed the new message. It sat in stark contrast to the uplift she felt just moments ago. The energy in the room felt fragile, as if they were balancing on the edge of a knife. She glanced at Gabriel, whose expression was a mixture of determination and concern, mirroring her own chaos of emotions. "Are you okay?" he whispered, leaning in closer. "Not really," she admitted, her throat tight. She turned back to face the crowd. The hope they had built together felt threatened, and she couldn't let fear seep in. "We need to stay focused. We can't let that message derail us." With that, someone shouted from the back, "What are we going to do?" That question hung in the air like a bitter cloud, and Mia felt the weight of it pressing down on her. She took a deep breath, finding strength in their faces, their resolve, their thirst for change. "We keep going," she responded. "We keep fighting for what we believe in. And we do it together." As she spoke, a sense of fire sparked within her. She had to address the fear head-on, harness it instead of letting it govern them. "For every person who tries to silence us, there are 10 who support us." She gestured to the crowd, and their faces lit up with a mixture of determination and anticipation. "We can spread our message wider, host an event, rally more supporters, make more noise." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Gabriel stepped forward, his voice steady. "We need to be smart about this, too. If this is serious, we should consider our safety. But we can't back down." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "What if we set up security? Like a vigil or something? We can show them we're not afraid." "Yes!" Mia exclaimed, her spirits rising. "That's a powerful idea. If we come together, we can create a presence that can't be ignored." The crowd erupted into applause, and the energy shifted again, pulsing with urgency and hope. Ideas bounced around the room: meetings, flyers, community outreach. They were a whirlwind of enthusiasm, each new plan lifting the mood further. But still, the cautionary message hovered ominously in the back of Mia's mind, echoing her fears. As thoughts raced, Mia caught sight of an older gentleman in the crowd. He looked surprisingly calm, his hands clasped together, deep in thought. When he finally spoke, his voice cut through the noise like a beacon. "Have you all thought about what you're really risking? This movement has power, but with power often comes consequences." Sorry murmurs filled the room, and silence descended as his words sunk in. Mia's pulse quickened. Was it so naive to believe they could challenge the status quo without paying a price? She had thought of their struggles in terms of ideals: the fight against injustice, the push for inclusion, but did she really comprehend the dangers they faced? The older man continued, "Be prepared for the worst. Know what you could lose, not just what you hope to gain." His warning resonated deeply, and a shiver traced Mia's spine. She felt the reality of their fight pressing down on her. The cost could be higher than any of them understood. But was backing down an option? Gabriel reached for her hand, squeezing it tight, grounding her amidst the uncertainty. She looked into his eyes, and the familiar warmth surged through her. A silent promise passed between them: they would face whatever came together. "Are we going to let fear stop us?" Mia shouted, her voice bursting with renewed vigor, challenging the concern that had settled over the room. "We will be ready for whatever comes. We can't let them win." Cheers erupted again, her words igniting a fire within everyone present. For every moment of doubt, they rallied into something tangible, into something greater than their individual fears, but just as the room erupted in excitement, a loud noise tore through their unity, a sharp bang that echoed off the walls, a sound too stark and real. Eyes turned wide and fearful as panic rippled through the crowd. What had just happened? Was this the beginning of the danger they'd been warned about? Mia's heart dropped into her stomach. Would their moment of hope be shattered in an instant? What lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty and fear? Mia's breath hitched as the sound echoed, a heavy boomerang of dread looping through the air. The crowd shifted, a wave of fear washing over their hopeful faces. She could see people whispering, some ducking instinctively as if they feared the noise had forewarned of something worse. Her heart drummed wildly, drowning out all rational thought. "Stay calm." Gabriel's voice pierced through the panic, firm yet gentle. He stepped in front of Mia, his body shielding hers, a silent declaration that he would protect her. "Everyone, please listen. We need to stay together. We're stronger that way." But the tension coiled tightly, making every breath feel labored. It was hard to think with fear pulsing around her like an electric current. What had happened? Was someone hurt? Was it a threat? She glanced toward the back of the room where the sound had come from. An overturned chair lay on the floor, and a cluster of people were huddled together, eyes darting. Someone was on the ground, and in that moment, dread washed over Mia with icy clarity. "Let us help!" Mia shouted, willing her legs to move. She broke away from Gabriel's protective stance, thrusting herself toward the back. The crowd parted for her, eyes wide, whispers trailing behind her like shadows. As she approached, the crowd's anxious murmurs crescendoed. "Is he okay?" Someone choked out. The knot in Mia's stomach tightened. She reached the group, looking down to a school-age boy crumpled on the floor, his face pale, one hand pressed to his side. "Milo." A woman's voice broke through the tension, sharp and panicked. She rushed through the throng, sinking to her knees beside him, frantic. "Can you hear me?" Mia knelt down, heart racing. She looked at the boy's face, the fear etched there startling her. "Milo, can you tell us what happened?" She asked softly, her voice steady against the chaos around them. He winced, shaking his head. I just tripped," he gasped. "I didn't mean to scare everyone." A wave of relief surged through Mia, mixed with an urgency to calm the crowd. "He's okay. Just a little shaken up. Let us give him some space." She exhaled, her voice steadying as she encouraged the crowd to make room. Gabriel moved closer, uncertainty still clinging around them. "Can you stand, buddy?" he asked, kneeling on the opposite side. "We'll help you up." Milo nodded, though his face was still pale. With gentle hands, they helped him to his feet. The panic faded, and as the crowd began to disperse, murmurs turned from fear to empathy. "Good job, Milo," someone called. A ripple of applause followed, light and airy against the heavy atmosphere minutes before. But as cheers faded and Mia caught her breath, a different concern gnawed at the back of her mind. What if this was just a precursor to something more? "Gabriel," she whispered, glancing at him. "What if this isn't the end? What if they hear about this, and it fuels them? What if we're being watched?" Gabriel's brow furrowed, his expression serious. "We'll figure it out. But this is a lesson we can't back down because of fear. We got through tonight. That's what matters." Just then, a notification rang from Mia's phone. She pulled it from her pocket, her heart dropping as she opened the message. It was a group chat. The subject? Next steps for the movement. Mia read the last message, her heart pounding. It was from an unidentified account. "We saw what happened. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Panic flared anew. The threat they had discussed, the fear they had faced, was it closer than she thought? Was backing down really not an option? A whirlwind of doubts swirled in her mind as she shared the screen with Gabriel, the chilling words reflected in both their eyes. What were they up against, really? And how far would they go to stand their ground? As the crowd gradually settled, Mia's resolve hardened. They had come too far to let fear dictate their path. But now, a more insidious danger loomed ahead, lurking in the shadows like a storm waiting to break. Together, she said, squeezing Gabriel's hand tightly. We have to be ready for whatever comes next. But would their unity be enough to hold back the tide? Would they stand strong in the face of the unknown? The following days blurred together like colors on a painter's canvas. Mia's heart raced with each passing moment as the community rallied around her. The whispered threats, the uncertainty, they loomed like dark clouds ready to rain down, but they wouldn't let that happen. The time for action had come. In the community center, voices clashed and soared, hopes shared and designs woven into existence. Mia felt the energy crackling around her as folks brainstormed. Plans blossomed, ideas ignited. They wanted this adaptive sports program, they craved a chance to be seen. Mia stood at the front, surrounded by familiar faces: Gabriel, Jack, Sam. Each of them was a thread in a tapestry of determination. We could host a family fun day in the park. All the money raised could go toward creating the program. She proposed, her voice cutting through the murmur. Gazes turned toward her, some skeptical, others gleaming with excitement. Yes. We could invite everyone, the whole town. Make it a big event. Sam shouted, enthusiasm bubbling. Let us include booths for stories, games, adaptive clinics, suggested Gabriel, his eyes lighting up. They were alive with purpose now. Ideas flocked like seagulls, spiraling around the room, and hope soared high. Mia could feel the buzz, the possibility. They were determined to push back against the lurking shadows. Anything was possible. As the meeting wrapped up, hunger surged within Mia, the hunger to see it all come to life. She left the community center with a spring in her step, excitement making every breath feel lighter, but that evening, uncertainty clawed back. At home, the weight of the world dropped on her shoulders as she stared at the message flashing on her phone once more. We saw what happened. This is just the beginning. Who were they? What did it mean? The unknown curled around her heart like a hand ready to squeeze. A knock jolted her from her thoughts. It was Gabriel, his expression serious. Are you ready? He asked, and she sensed the unspoken question, ready to go forward, ready to fight. Let us do this, she replied, a sense of steel in her voice. The day of the event glittered under the sun like a promise kept. The park buzzed with laughter, colorful tents lining the walkways. Residents, families, and friends came together, united in curiosity and care. Mia stood at the heart of the fray, arms wide open like she was embracing the world. Jack stepped onto the stage, his voice resonating with confidence. We're not here for handouts, he declared, turning faces toward him. We're here to uplift each other. Cheers erupted into the warm air, and Mia's heart sang. As the sun began to set, casting a warm hue across the park, she took the stage. Today isn't just about fun, it's about a journey we all need. We can make changes, not just for ourselves, but for every person who feels unseen. As she spoke, surges of applause rippled through the gathered crowd. She wanted them to see their own power and unity, not just hers, but as the laughter floated and the night deepened, a whisper of darkness brushed against her reality. A group of figures loomed at the edge of the park, shadows against the fading light. The previous threats haunted her. Would they, too, come to disrupt the joy, to extinguish the flame they fought so hard to ignite? But Mia stood tall. With Gabriel and her community behind her, she was ready. The shadows might murmur threats, but they held strength in numbers. Together, she breathed, glancing at her friends. Their resolve echoed back to her, steadfast and unwavering. The warmth from the crowd enveloped her like a blanket stitched with care and bravery. It made her heart soar. Just as abruptly as they disappeared, the figures retreated, their menacing presence dashed by the light surrounding Mia's hopeful call. "Look!" Sam shouted from the back. "We did this! We are making noise!" And they kept making it: music, laughter, support. Families danced, children played, and the park brimmed with energy, the warmth, the empowerment. It spread like wildfire, igniting passion in hearts once battered by fear. Mia could feel the spark, the change, the unity joining them in a tapestry of togetherness. As stars twinkled above, she raised her voice once more: "We stand here as a community, unbroken and strong. Let our stories be told." And they were. That night echoed with their aspirations, sending shadows retreating until they faded into memory. The bonds they forged that day would transform lives, especially Mia's. She would never feel invisible again. Their fight had only just begun, but Mia knew the winds of change were in their favor. "Let us keep this going," she shouted, and the crowd roared. Finally, they felt seen. And as they basked in the joy of possibility, fear tightened its grip, but it had lost its bite. Today, they had broken through. Mia smiled radiant, her heart fuller than ever, a beacon of hope in a world that finally understood. As they turned to face whatever loomed next, they weren't alone. Together, they could rewrite their destiny. Now, if you're inspired by this transformation, this is your crucial moment. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right away to feed this growing movement. And share your thoughts in the comments. What did this ending mean to you? Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this journey. Together, let us take on the world.